welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. Today, my friend Kieran's here, so we can talk about Mortal Kombat figures. Yeah. Mortal Kombat!
Yeah. Mortal Kombat! These are also another line I was like pretty into as a kid.
I didn't have any of them. I remember seeing them and just being so shocked that like the G.I. Joe gimmick of the Street Fighters was still happening and they were still sort of getting them right and still sort of screwing them up.
It's also kind of crazy because Hasbro does these too.
Right.
So the idea that they got both
brands.
Yeah, and this was another thing. If it was crazy seeing Street Fighter, you never thought you'd see Mortal Kombat. It was in the news. Everybody hated it.
It was so violent.
Like,
kids can't have it. Yeah.
And I wasn't even. My mom was one of those people. She did not like Mortal Kombat at all. She thought it was destroying America. I don't know. But I couldn't even have the action figures.
Okay.
I remember I traded a friend for the reptile figure.
Okay.
And she found out and made me go back over to his house, ring the doorbell, and I had to give the figure back. And I gave my figure back. He didn't give his. He was like, "Oh, I couldn't find it."
So you got totally hosed.
Yeah, so I lost my figure that I traded.
That stinks.
I don't even remember what figure it was, but I was really upset because I had to trade like a few things to get that reptile. So it was like, I really got the poop end.
Yeah.
I was really upset about that.
So in 1994, Hasbro released the Mortal Kombat figures, and then the following year, 1995, the movie came out. So they slapped stickers on them for the special movie editions, but they had to tweak a few things because, first of all, the characters didn't look exactly like the video game ones, and then not everybody in the movie looked exactly like the video game, so the transition was even weirder. So like I have a few card guys and a few loose guys. This is actually a line I've just sort of recently started collecting, so I don't have them all, but I have both versions of Sonya Blade. The first one is in green. She's just a Jinx repaint with a new head.
Okay.
And then for the movie, they painted her in a different color, but they gave her boots. Like she has Flint's lower legs on the Jinx body, and somehow that made her more accurate to the movie. I'm not really sure why.
She was more soldiery in that than in the game. She was more like looked like a jazzercise instructor or something like that. Another
big change was Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung.
Shang Tsung. He was like an old man in the game. He's like this wizard.
Yeah.
But in the movie, he was young. I guess they figured that nobody would want to see a fight with this old man. So they had to tackle that. And so the first figure, and we have two different versions of him. There was one that was a single card version and one that was a driver to a vehicle. Is Dojo from Ninja Force.
Exactly, yeah. He has, I mean, it's like Shang Tsung, he has grenades attached to him and stuff like that.
So for the movie, to get the young version, they needed a different figure. And Hasbro was kings of trying to cut corners on these figures and reusing molds. So they actually had this whole line of Ninja Force figures called the Ninja Commandos they never released. And they had all the molds made up. They were going to put them out in 1995, but G.I. Joe ended. So a lot of those parts were suddenly like, oh, we have some new parts we can use to make these guys look cool and new.
Yeah.
And so the entire figure is actually Budo from Ninja Commandos. That's why he looks like a samurai.
Yeah, this one here.
Right.
The brown one. Which when I saw it, I was like, this looks like it's just Budo.
Yeah.
And it is.
It is. But even like Liu Kang here, this chest is not the Road Pig chest that was really commonly used. This is actually a Ninja Commando torso.
Okay.
So finally they were going to have a second like bare torso in the G.I. Joe
it's a lot more sculpted looking too. It's more detailed.
More defined.
And I noticed too, there's the Johnny Cage over here, right here.
Right.
And this is the movie Ken figure that we had in the one episode, just painted gray with a Mortal Kombat logo on it.
There's one version where he's Bonsai, and he's the Vega body with the knives all over him.
He has the knives, and that's the one I remember, because that, my friend had that one, and it came with Goro.
Right.
It was a 2-pack, and it came with like a little platform to put them on or something like that. Or
the Goro was one of the figures where they actually put some money out and made a good Goro figure, because there weren't any Joe parts you could use to make that work.
And he had 4 arms. The Goro figure looked pretty cool.
The Goro figure was a departure from the standard construction on the other Mortal Kombat figures. He's larger in size to accommodate having 4 arms. He also uses a T-crotch instead of the rubber band system. This was a direction Hasbro was planning to go with G.I. Joe before that main line was canceled.
I remember seeing that thing, and he was a bit bigger too than the other figures. He was pretty neat.
But a lot of the other guys, like Raiden was Nunchuck with a new head.
Yep.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero and all those guys were Slice with a new head. I think they had different arms.
Yeah.
But it was still basically just a Ninja Force guy.
Yeah, pretty. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I guess, and I mean, even too, like Kano.
He's Dice.
He's Dice.
Right.
He's even got the knee
giant
pads and everything.
He came with a motorcycle. So Kano, Reptile, and the one version of Shang Tsung are the harder figures to get from this
and
line.
Shang Tsung, I think he's the one that came with the big boat, which came out with the movie. It was like the leaky sailboat that they all go to, the tournament on.
Right.
Outworld or wherever they go to.
It was cool that they used some cloth goods on these guys. Like, he has a robe. Like, my Scorpion doesn't have his robe, but they actually had little vests that went on the ninjas to make them look a little bit better. Those kind of... They just kind of made them feel a little more high quality and kind of hid some of the fact they were using
that
parts.
they're just reusing it. And I mean, the Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Reptile are all the same figure, just painted different things, but they were the ones you always wanted.
Yeah.
Reptile, I think, was the coolest one. Scorpion's my favorite, but Reptile's figure looked cool. The green was just really nice.
Really striking.
Yeah, it was a very nice green.
I think the movie version of Sub-Zero is like translucent. Like he looks like
I remember that one.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. When the movie ones, by this time too, I don't even really remember some of them. I remember my friend had like all of them too. The Liu Kang one too. I remember that's where they gave him the longer hair, like Robin Shu in the movie, I guess. But it's I never really saw these very much in stores. I don't know if it was because like stores didn't want to have such attachment.
Maybe
to
some places wouldn't carry them.
Yeah, it was just I barely ever saw these except for like I had some friends that had them. He had the boat, which I always thought was weird that Reptile's driving around in a speedboat. And in the commercial too, I think he's even driving around in like the Deadpool, which is the level in Mortal Kombat 2, and I was kind of like, why isn't his boat melting and all that acid? Like,
it's really weird.
Yeah, it was just you could tell that these were just like they were just meant to sell action figures, and it's fine, whatever. They got the money from the people. This blew my mind again. Seeing the commercial for Mortal Kombat action figures. Any Mortal Kombat, anything other than the game was insane. You just never thought you'd see it.
Right. I think the figure that I want to track down the most that I don't have so far, I think I really want to get the movie Raiden figure. Mm-hmm. His entire body is one of the Ninja Commandos that was never released. Yeah. But he uses Ken's head.
And he has a robe, doesn't he? Yeah.
But because in the movie Raiden had the long hair instead of that like stocking over his head, they used the Ken figure that had the long hair. So it's such a weird amalgamation of a Street Fighter guy and an unreleased guy to make a Mortal Kombat
When
figure.
I was a kid too, that figure was everywhere. Okay. That was one of the figures that was like no one wanted it. It was just you would go to KB and there was racks of that Raiden figure, and I remember not wanting it as a kid. I didn't care about Raiden. Like Raiden was cool in the movie, but I didn't care about his figure. It didn't look all that great, and it was like there was 40 of them, All
right, so I have another question for you because I have been confused by this for a long time. Every once in a while, and I have one here, I've seen these larger Mortal Kombat figures. Yeah. It looks almost exactly like the standard release, but it's just scaled up. What's the story? Do you know?
They're from the Mortal Kombat trilogy line.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was, I've only ever seen them in KB. Okay. I don't know if it was, because KB had sometimes like their own kind of lines in a way. Yeah, like X-Men had a cheaper, just a repackage of older figures that, like Repaints. X-Men, Spider-Man, anything like that, and they would be just, budget figures. But they were some of the 3 for $10 figures, and they were just like, here's Sonya right here.
You can see she's way bigger than the other figures.
Yeah, she is a lot larger than the regular, these ones. She's a good, like, she's huge.
Here she is, the regular version of her.
Yeah, and she's way bigger. And they had, I used to have I had Scorpion. Okay. And it was the same Scorpion figure here, the same way, just dialed up. And there were some figures, though. Not Shang Tsung, Shao Kahn was just a regular 6-inch plastic figure. He didn't have the rubber band in the middle. Okay. Cyrax. I also had Jade, and she was one of those figures. You know how like sometimes when you would buy like the women characters, they would have the instead of their legs just going straight out, they would kind of just go off to the
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
It was like that,
Okay.
where her leg would swivel off to a weird. So you could never make her kick the right way
Oh, yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that. But they made. I'm trying to remember who else they had. They also had Goro, and he
Yeah.
was the same Goro figure as this,
Right.
but just bigger.
I think that's the first time I ever saw the larger figures, and then
Mhm.
I ran into that Sonya Blade, and I was like, oh, I gotta
Yeah.
buy her, because I was trying to figure that out, and I knew I wanted to try and like do a video about this line at some point.
I used to have the Goro one and Shao Kahn, and I used to use my friend had the smaller GI Joe size
Yeah,
ones,
okay.
and we used to use those as because in the game,
Yeah,
Shao Kahn and Goro are way bigger.
Yeah.
So we used to use those as like the boss characters.
That
when
works
you would
well.
fight 'em. Yeah, they worked a lot better because otherwise, Shao Kahn isn't much bigger than Sonya Blade, and that
Right.
doesn't really. He's not intimidating looking if he's the same size as
That's
everybody.
So I think the Mortal Kombat line was definitely an interesting experiment. I feel like it was a little hit or miss.
Yeah.
The Street Fighter GI Joes were kind of weak, but that was like the starting point. Then the movie ones really did step it up.
Yeah.
So it was a shame at that point they hadn't kind of learned from their mistake and said, okay, let's make the Mortal Kombat guys better. But I think a lot of times it was just came down to dollars and cents, and like we only have this much tooling, and we have to make a new Goro.
Yeah.
So everyone else is just getting a fresh head, and too bad about the bodies.
Yeah, because I don't know how much it costs to make like a mold for these. I'm guessing.
It's very expensive for an
Is
action
it?
figure,
Yeah, I can imagine. Because I
giant
mean,
steel molds.
yeah, they I guess someone has to etch it out and everything and figure it out and design it. So all the work that goes into it, but these ones I feel like they were short lived. I just feel like they kind of came out and went.
They certainly didn't make all the characters. Like the Street Fighter one had a much bigger line.
Yeah, and then I mean this is like Mortal Kombat, as in like Mortal Kombat 1. But by this time, I'm pretty sure 3 might have even been out. Like when did? Oh no, 92. Oh wait, no.
These were 90.
Copyright 92.
Yeah, these were
but
94,
Hasbro's
95.
94.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Mortal Kombat.
I know at least 2 was out.
Mortal Kombat 1 was 92. Mortal Kombat 2 was 93.
Yeah,
I think.
I knew all the extra characters were out at that point.
They already had them, but I feel like it was also it could have been a licensing thing. Where it might have been hotter to get, because I mean they do have Reptile, but he's technically a secret character in Mortal Kombat 1,
Right.
so you can get away with him. And they do have everybody from Mortal Kombat 1.
Okay.
They have everybody. Kano isn't, he's a vehicle driver, but they do have all the first run of characters.
So they did do everybody from the first
Yeah,
game.
and the bosses.
Okay, because the first and second game just blur together in my mind, like we just played them both so much.
It was Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, Sonya Blade, Raiden, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and Kano. And then Reptile was a secret character, Goro was the first boss, and Shang Tsung was the second boss.
Okay, so they did at least do everybody.
Yeah,
from the first game.
and then like in the second one they added like Melina, Katana, Kung Lao,
Yeah,
Baraka.
I love Baraka.
Baraka's one of my. He's probably
He
my
would've been such a
second
good
favorite.
action figure.
Yeah, they probably would have done something dumb.
You
with
need
him
that
now.
Deadpool figure to make.
Yeah, that would have been
Excellent
a really good Baraka.
Yeah,
you know
a
what?
goofy head.
Man, now I need to like find that thing and repaint it or something like that. That would actually be a really good Baraka figure. I never even thought of that. But yeah, they did a good job with getting everybody. I think though, the fans of Mortal Kombat, even though Mortal Kombat when it came out, I was a kid. I was what was the first one? 92. So I was like 6.
Okay.
When it came out, but I played it in the arcade when it was out.
I feel like I was probably in like 3rd grade. I remember like every comic book for months just had the Mortal Kombat ad on the back. Like Marvel didn't advertise anything on the back of their comic but Mortal Kombat for months. I remember watching the commercial all the time on TV with the kids.
When I was a kid, man, I was a huge arcade junkie. Like I was in the arcades all the time before I had a console or anything. And I remember going to the arcade, and you could never get on the Street Fighter machine, and then all of a sudden the Street Fighter machine is just no one's
empty.
there. And I'm playing it, and I'm like, why? Wow, okay, cool, I can play. And it was Champion Edition by then, so it was like, but then I'm walking around and I see everybody crowded around Mortal Kombat. I didn't know what it was. I remember jumping on the first thing. The guy beats me, he finishes me. He was Scorpion, and I was like little at the time, so I'm just like, like you just killed me too. Like you beat me and killed me.
It's
like
not
whoa.
just a KO.
It was insane. I couldn't believe the game when it came out, and then I think that these were pointed at kids, but more people that were playing Mortal Kombat at that time were teenagers, and they're not going to buy G.I. Joes.
And that's where I was at with these guys. Like I was still playing the game, but I was just just out of action figures. Like I would still go to the store and look at them and be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a neat figure, but I just wasn't really collecting stuff at the time.
Yeah, I mean, also too, if I remember correctly, these were expensive.
Yeah, I think
They
so.
weren't the same price. GI Joes sometimes were like $3. I think they were like $3.99 for a regular GI Joe.
Okay.
Or a Street Fighter one, but these were, I believe, more.
I don't know if any of these guys have price tags.
Yeah,
Sometimes you can. Sometimes figures still have no.
Yeah,
These guys
no, this one, oh, it's ripped.
ripped off.
But no, these were, I believe these were more expensive. Like they were like $7.
They probably had to cover the cost of the license.
Yeah,
like, probably
it could be.
Hasbro marked them up, and maybe plastic was just getting more expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
we've seen toys climb. I mean,
Yeah, because I remember too, the boat was like something like, I think the boat was $20 with Scorpion.
I
mean, a reptile.
oh yeah.
It was $19.99, I believe.
And
the Kano was.
Kano's motorcycle was just the Ninja Force lightning cycle thing again.
Again, with the figures you constantly saw, Kano's motorcycle,
Yeah.
no one wanted it. Everybody wanted Reptile in the boat, but nobody
Just for
wanted
Reptile.
Yeah,
Nobody
just
actually
for
wants the
Reptile.
boat though.
No one cared. I found so many of those boats
Yeah.
at like flea markets that no one cares about, and they're like, they're in a box of garbage. They're all beat up. There's no stickers on them, and then you find someone with a Reptile and like $10. And it's like an open reptile in like a bubble, like that they just, they the regular bubbles that you can buy. But the figures go for a lot now. Not a lot, but like, some of them do.
Yeah, they're getting pricey.
Yeah, but the vehicles, no one cares about those. Everybody bought them just to get the figure.
Just to stick the drivers out.
Yeah, it was just, that's what I cared. I didn't care about like the vehicles ever.
They don't make any sense for the brand.
No, it's just kind of dumb. And, just to have like on a motorcycle with a Mortal Kombat Dragon sticker and the word Mortal Kombat on it, it's like, is this what they drive? Like, they're like, yeah, Mortal Kombat in our, put the logo on everything,
All right, well, thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous toy review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos.